for all we know, we could be the only intelligent life in the universe. So on one path, there's a global catastrophe and we're set back centuries. And eventually we go extinct. And that's it for the human race. On the other path, we establish self-sufficient colonies on these other orbital bodies, take hold throughout the whole solar system, eventually branch out to the rest of the galaxy and have countless diverse populations that are flourishing for the end of time. So seems like we should do everything in our power to mitigate the risk of going down the first path and start as soon as possible, regardless of climate change, regardless of economic inequality.
Welcome to Flipside, the podcast where we bring you lighthearted, good-natured debates about a variety of interesting topics ranging from politics to social and cultural issues. We make a genuine effort to explore all sides of an issue, and the goal is always to find common ground instead of scoring points against each other. I'm Hussein.
I'm Preet.
I'm Carson.
And I'm Julian. In this episode, we're going to be talking about space exploration and the future of humanity. Is Mars within our reach, or are we just wasting money?
So, considering this is the inspiration for today's episode, I'll kick us off with a short description of the most recent launch of SpaceX's Starship, which was a couple weeks ago when we were filming this. So, SpaceX believes that Starship is the key to unlocking all the planets in the solar system and turning us into a spacefaring civilization. So this was the largest rocket to ever fly. It's basically a 40-story skyscraper, 100 feet taller than the Statue of Liberty, and 30 feet in diameter. Has 39 Raptor rocket engines, which are each like the size of a car. The main reason why this is so important is because due to the manufacturing techniques that SpaceX plans to use, they want to manufacture one of these daily and also be launching them daily eventually. And also due to just the sheer amount of weight that it can carry, it has a 150-ton carrying capacity. Jeez. So just the amount of that you can launch into space at one time, the rate at which they're going to manufacture these is going to bring down the launch of spaceflight drastically. And also they want to make it completely reusable, and their plan is to have it like land back and be caught by this chopstick arms out of midair. So it's pretty crazy stuff, but yeah, I have faith that they'll do it eventually, considering SpaceX's track record. NASA has already awarded the Starship a $4 billion contract to use it to land some of the first crewed missions back on the moon. Mm-hmm. So obviously a very big deal.
When is that happening, the first mission?
So we can talk about some milestones in the future, and that'll include the Artemis missions, which are coming up. But first, I have a question for you guys. So space colonization and exploration is like basically my Roman Empire. Are y'all aware of that trend that happened a couple of weeks ago?
I saw that on TikTok,
Yeah. Does anyone want to explain it for my grandparents?
Roman Empire? What is it? It's basically
like what you
basically a bunch of girls on TikTok started asking the guys how often they thought about the Roman Empire, and they're super surprised to see that they were like thinking about it
pretty often
daily.
Yeah.
So this is some weird thing that I think about daily almost. And I'm not exactly alone on this. There's a big community on YouTube that like use drones and satellite imagery to track weekly updates at Starbase and post 20-minute videos about it.
A bunch of nerds, huh?
Yeah, so sure. Is this something that you guys are excited about?
No, not really.
Really?
Well, I mean, I'm not really too much into the space thing. Like, I'm not too heavily involved in like the actual like SpaceX or like space tracker or whatever you said.
Yeah.
I'm more into, just thinking about what's out there and stuff like that. But I don't see the actual us going into space as like realistic, to be honest, but we can probably get into it later.
Well, by the end of this episode, hopefully we can change your mind.
Maybe.
No, I'm definitely quite excited about it. I mean, it's been like 60 years since we have actually landed again and established something in the moon, right?
Yeah.
So I'm quite excited about that. I mean, but I also got to see, like, it's been so long, so let's see what the future holds. Yep.
So a couple reasons I'm excited about it is it's just the final frontier. We can finally everyone's itching, I think, to get back to the good old days of adventure and exploring uncharted territory, which doesn't really exist right now. And also, I think becoming an interplanetary species is just a huge monumental shift in the trajectory of humanity as a whole. And I'm also just like an extreme techno optimist. So I think it would be really cool to see robots building bases on Mars. So that's just me, though.
Do you guys think that's realistic? What's going to happen?
Oh, yeah, 100%. And I mean, not even thinking about the whole interplanetary species thing. I mean, I'm excited for this because of how our lives here on Earth are going to change as well. I mean, we're already seeing how things like Starlink and everything SpaceX is doing is already kind of transforming our lives. And we're going to see a lot of shifts where a lot of the economy of the globe also has to become a lot more integrated with space. If you think about how things move around, the types of industries that can emerge from that. So I don't know, that kind of research, that kind of advancement. I mean, think about it. Like the GPS came from like military technology. What kind of technologies could we have in our daily lives that will emerge from space industries and research?
That's definitely a good point. Yeah, I didn't even think of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll be talking about all that in a bit more detail as we go on.
Okay.
So I'll continue us on with some predictions for what's going to happen maybe in our lifetime and some near-term space goals. So we can start with the Artemis missions. This is a NASA set of missions similar to Apollo that has just started taking shape basically and just received the funding that it needs. This is going to be, the goal is to have the first human crewed landing on the moon since 1972 and eventually to establish a long-term residence on the moon. And that includes a lunar gateway space station that's constantly orbiting the moon to act as a staging point for future missions.
When is this happening?
So in late 2024 is when they plan for the first crewed test flight around the moon, and then 2025 would be the first landing on the moon since 1972.
It's a long time, yeah. Quite excited for that. Then it's quite close. It's not too far off.
It's not far at all.
Yeah.
Well, that's if they meet their deadline, which is not... They don't have the best track record, I think. So
that's true.
Already expecting delays with that, but it's exciting that they think that they're going to do it in 2025.
What about the other ones? So after that, what is it? Mars straight away, or?
Hey, we gotta incremental.
So
slow down.
SpaceX, you can't trust SpaceX's deadlines either. More so than NASA's. Mainly Elon Musk. Very optimistic. I think like 10 years ago he was saying that we would be on Mars by 2020 or something, and here we are, not anywhere close. So, but they think they want to land the first humans on Mars by 2030. I think I read. I've seen there's contradicting predictions.
I think that's too early, honestly.
Yeah,
on Mars, 2030
is insane. Yeah,
7 years from now. Yeah,
I don't think so. I'm thinking it's more like 2040, 50s.
Right.
Because, like I said, it's been 60 years since we landed on the moon, but we still don't have any colonies or anything over there.
Yeah, but that being said, I mean, was it Artemis 4, 2027? They're going to try to establish a lunar gateway, and that's going to be a crucial step towards trying to reach Mars. So we'll have to see if that happens first.
That's true.
Yeah.
There's definitely been a lot of acceleration in the space industry. That's another thing I wanted to go over. So a Falcon 9 launch today is $67 million. That's SpaceX's like flagship, or not flagship, but their most used rocket, obviously. And the NASA space shuttle flight cost $1.6 billion per flight. So obviously huge, and that's in today's money. The price of heavy launches to low Earth orbit have fallen from $65,000 per kilogram to $1,500 per kilogram. So that's more
crazy,
than a 95% decrease in the cost to launch per kilogram of weight into space. So definitely huge progress just in the last like 5 years, 10 years.
So you're saying it was going to get expedited? as we go.
Well, it's going to become cheaper, and that
Yeah.
will lead to more launches, obviously.
Yeah, for sure. What is the timeline looking like? So we're saying what, 2040s, 2030s?
That's if we're going to be optimistic about it.
All right, this will be my last monologue of the episode. I'm going to outline what a potential timeline for this century for space exploration is, and then y'all can tell me if you agree with it or not. I found this on Reddit, so take it with a grain of salt from this random guy, but fun to think about. So 2030s, we might have a sustained human presence on the moon and utilizing in situ resources on the moon to produce stuff like oxygen, water, and food. 2040s, we could have large-scale lunar outposts, first Mars landing in the beginning of the decade, and then continuous missions when the window opens up to start to build up a large or decent population at these bases. 2050s, start to get largely self-sufficient Mars colonies, missions to other inner planets like Mercury, Venus, and also maybe the asteroid belt. 2060s, crewed missions to the asteroid belt, not just autonomous like asteroid mining, people living long-term on the Mars and moon, and also orbital stations just orbiting around the Earth. 2070s, we might journey to the outer planets like Neptune and Uranus. And then 2090s, we might start terraforming Mars. And at the dawn of the 22nd century, we could have...
We're such kids, bro. Continue.
And then at the dawn of the 22nd century, 2010s... Guys,
This is so sad.
we could start to journey to the outer planets of the solar system, like Neptune and Uranus.
God damn it, dude! It's not that deep. Like seriously, I'll just leave out.
I'll say,
You're actually middle schoolers.
yeah.
Maybe I am.
By the 2070s, we could start journeying to the outer planets of the solar system, like Saturn, maybe all the moons around Jupiter and Neptune, even at the far reaches of the solar system. In the 2080s, the expansion to the solar system continues. We have habitats all throughout the solar system, like in the asteroid belt and outer planet moons. At the dawn of the 22nd century, we could have a significant presence in the solar system on all sorts of orbital bodies and improvements to the propulsion technology, and maybe even, who knows, the discovery of faster than light technology could enable us to start the first interstellar missions.
Yeah.
So, does this seem realistic timeline to you guys?
No. I don't think so.
It actually starts with the first thing you said. It was the human presence on the moon, and then you're using resources to have oxygen and water and stuff, but you're expecting to do that in 10 years, which seems very unrealistic.
Well, that's a sustained, doesn't people stay there permanently? Which is even
so then
more
how are they going to make
that's even
oxygen
worse,
and
yeah.
water?
No, that's my point.
Oh,
It's
okay,
like,
okay, yeah. Because the moon does not have an atmosphere, so
Yeah.
Well, they don't have atmosphere, but
They do have ice, though.
yeah, I was gonna say.
So you can, and there's lots of oxygen in the lunar regolith, so you can extract that. So water and oxygen for sure, and then you can start growing your own food. And
like the soil is good there. and stuff
There's no
like that.
soil; it's all rocks, isn't it?
well, you'd
gotta
have
import
to
it,
bring
right?
your
It's
own
import,
soil
yeah.
or
Oh,
use hydroponics, where the roots are just suspended in water.
Yeah, I mean, if that's the case, I still don't think 2030, I mean, doing all that, I think like from whatever this Reddit person said, add another 10 years to each one of it. And I think
That's actually not bad though. That's
Yeah.
not a bad prediction still.
yeah, it's pretty
So then
pretty good.
you
Yeah.
think maybe 2010s turns into not 2010s,
2030s.
2100s turns into 2200s.
Okay, I wouldn't say 100
maybe.
years.
So
but
200 years at the end.
I would say by like 2150s, we should have some we start exploring other, I don't know, maybe galaxies or something. I'm not
Galaxies?
What? That's what you said, right?
That's
I think we're gonna stay in our galaxy for a few
No?
hundred years, probably.
400 years?
At least a few hundred years, but in our
Yeah.
galaxy.
Okay.
Interstellar is like other solar systems.
Okay, you're right. That's kind of what I meant.
Okay,
Let's,
okay,
go
Okay,
with
yeah.
that.
Let's pretend you meant that.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
Yeah, so I think that older people tend to be more pessimistic about this, like me. I just started getting into this a couple of years ago, and we've had such rapid progress in the last 5 years that I just tend to be very optimistic. But like the boomers after it's been 50 years since
Are you talking about your grandparents?
any boomer. I'm not sure how my grandparents feel about this, but
Yeah, mine either. They're too old now. To really care,
I mean, lots of people on that Reddit thread said they thought like maybe we'll land on Mars by the next century if there's not a global catastrophe beforehand. So there's definitely lots of people very pessimistic, which makes sense because we haven't landed on the moon or left like orbit of Earth in the last 50 years. So.
Yeah, but you think about the technological progress we've had in the last 20 compared to the last 50. Then
Yeah,
that
we were
becomes
just busy with the internet, playing with our new toy, like nobody cared about.
Exactly. But
to be honest, there hasn't really been a need to go to the moon. Because I feel like the only reason we went to the moon was because it was more. I mean, obviously you have the like technological innovation of like going to the moon, but it was really heavily political because of the Cold War.
It was political. Yeah,
and like the moon. I mean, it's cool to be on the moon, but the moon doesn't really
help us.
That's where we're gonna defer a little, my friend. We're gonna talk about what is the point of this in a little bit.
We need some sort of economic incentive though, because first it was like the political incentive, but I think those Apollo missions were way ahead of their time, and we didn't have the technology to utilize any of the economic incentives yet. So that could be a reason. And then on the flip side of the like no leaving orbit for 50 years, in 1903 the Wright brothers flew the first airplane, and then in 1969 we were landing on the moon, allegedly. So in 50 years we went from not flying at all to landing on the moon. So that's also
I do think
can happen in 50 years.
No, I agree. I think things are expediting and it's getting faster, technological advancements. But I mean, I definitely think we can, in our lifetimes at least, we can see a settlement in Mars. Not sure if we'll be there, but we can definitely see the settlements starting over there, I think.
Okay, yeah. Now, maybe we should talk about why would we do these things, like we were saying. So you guys said that you don't really see an economic incentive. But then I ask you, why is it that private companies are becoming like the mover in this whole enterprise? If there's no money to be made, why are private companies?
There's money to be made, but privately. That's why they're doing it. Like, I think those are more towards like, let's go into space real quick, come back down. Like people who are rich, they want some adventure. So
okay, so
I think that's how
you think that money. The tourism industry is moving this.
Exactly, 100%. That's why, like, I think Bezos and stuff.
So was it Blue Origins? Trying to
not sure if it's working properly for him, but
definitely not as well as SpaceX. Just from what I was reading earlier. But
it's definitely very interesting, and I think that tourism is probably the biggest form of economic growth that we can get.
I would argue that's very short term. Okay. At least for the whole zero-G experience. Mm-hmm. I think we're starting to see a lot. I mean, SpaceX's whole thing now has been like cargo transports to and from space. Like increasingly, we're seeing an economic incentive about like just like transportation, especially if they work with the government with this, right?
Transportation for what though?
Transportation for cargo. Like if they were to work with the government to transport things to build the lunar space station. Okay. And then eventually there's going to be a lot of money to be made between bringing back supplies and then other scientific, achievements that we find over there, achievements.
Okay. No, that makes sense. Yeah.
So there's also some other, besides tourism right now, there's a lot of economic incentive for manufacturing things in space due to the vacuum and low gravity, specifically zero-G environment. Lots of complex things, I think, related to computers and like chemistry or materials that are made with some complex chemical process that I don't know about. It needs to be in like a zero-G environment.
So you're saying the vacuum helps with those processes, right?
Or like the lack of oxygen with the chemical processes.
Yeah. Well, a lot of this stuff is going to be done inside of the actual lab, but the zero-G does help some processes over that too.
Okay. No, 100%.
So there's also some like just mining of resources as an economic incentive for both the moon and also asteroid mining. Couple statistics for that, or to put this into perspective, there's 32,000 near Earth asteroids. So lots of people think all the asteroids are in the asteroid belt, but it's really, that's where they're most clustered, but they're scattered throughout the whole solar system. A single 30-meter long plutonium-rich asteroid could contain $25 to $50 billion in today's money, USD, worth of plutonium.
So I guess that's where the economic incentive comes from.
That's a very big one. Mining is
mining.
Platinum.
Platinum. There you go.
Yeah, platinum, and then there's also
there's probably gold as
rare.
well, right?
Yeah, but gold isn't really what we're looking for. It's more just like
true.
Rare earth minerals, heavy minerals.
Which includes gold. But
but I mean,
you can't really use gold for much, though, right? I don't know if they use gold for a lot of things. I feel like some of the other elements.
No, I think
other elements we can use in manufacturing. Gold, if you bring that much of it from outer space, it's going to devalue it significantly. That's
actually true too. Yeah. But I think that's the main reason why we're doing all this, right? Because of resources on Earth, basically depleting.
Yeah, that's part of it, and I would argue that's mostly for like manufacturing metals and stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay.
And also the moon has one potential use of it. It has vast amounts of helium-3, which is the main fuel that is best for nuclear fusion, which we don't have fusion reactors yet, but maybe in the next couple of decades we will. And it's very rare on Earth, so we can get that from the moon. And there's also other materials and minerals on the moon. People think, or scientists think, the moon was created out of the Earth. So I would assume that most of the minerals in the Earth are also present on the moon. So that's another economic advantage.
Okay. I mean, should we talk about more into why we want to kind of leave the Earth?
Yeah. So lots of people make the argument that we should take care of our own planet before we waste money doing this other stuff. We kind of presented the side that there actually is some economic incentive that would make it worthwhile to invest that money. But some people think it would be better spent on giving people free healthcare or addressing all the wealth inequality that we have, spending it more on education, etc.
I'm gonna be real. I feel like no matter how we try fixing these issues, there's always gonna be new ones popping up, or it's just never gonna be resolved. I just feel like the way we're going in terms of population and resources, like if we don't start now, it might be too late. To
start solving these problems.
Yeah,
well, I mean, already our income inequality is the worst of any developed nation. So definitely redistribution, stuff like that. We're gonna have to see how people react to spending more money in space.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, in order to solve these issues, with another planet would be more helpful than trying to fix it right here.
Send the poor people to another planet.
I mean, sorry, I might have to.
A rock
with homeless people, or how do you mean?
Oh my god! No, I'm just saying
platinum asteroid.
I just mean like in terms of redistribution of people, so that issues here can be resolved by there's less stuff that we have to do here, because a lot of the problems are population and resource distribution. So it would help a lot if there's less people, so you have more resources to distribute it.
I don't think we're going to be at a point where we can send a significant portion of our population to another planet in the next few hundred years.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to lie, that seems like a very far off goal. A lot of what we're talking about here when it comes to permanent settlements are mainly for like research stations and industries, not necessarily as like living.
I disagree. I think with Mars, we're looking towards shifting people there. So if we can establish a Mars settlement in the next 20, 30 years, maybe in the next 100 years, we can...
50 for that.
Okay, yeah, I'm saying,
but we're not really trying to solve the problem of overpopulation right now. Like, there's lots of data and researchers that think the population is going to level off in the next couple billion people as countries get more developed.
I guess that's true too, yeah.
And I think what the point you're getting at was just throwing money at the problems doesn't really fix it. So we might as well invest in both at the same time. And
I mean, we've been trying to do that for like decades. It doesn't seem like anything has been resolved. So might as well try other stuff, you know?
Couple rapid fire other points you were getting at earlier, Julian, that the space exploration leads to lots of technological innovation. So from the Apollo missions, we got small, like phone-sized cameras, LED lights, solar cells, water and air purification technology, wireless technology, and even like medical imagery. So a whole bunch of technological innovations that came from the Apollo missions, and we would expect that to continue.
As we tackle more complex problems, we're going to get more complex solutions to resolve them. So
That's a good way of putting it.
yeah.
You know, maybe we will get flying cars now with going into space.
That would be interesting. Let's see.
Hey, they did say we'd have it by 2020, and it's 2020 now, and there's nothing of that. So maybe we need the space
Who
exploration.
said they would have it by 2020?
2020? I'm pretty sure I've heard that.
Wait, from who?
Just people in 1980s
Movies.
and movies.
Oh, okay.
and
I
all
think meant
that.
like some company went out.
Oh,
and was
no,
like,
no,
we're going to
no,
build the first flying car by 2020.
no.
All right.
So yeah, maybe this
I
will
will
speed
say
it up.
maybe some people think it's kind of a dangerous idea to think that space offers an escape from Earth's problems,
Okay.
like you were talking about. I mean, I don't know about them. I think we should just abandon this planet and just move on to other ones.
Yeah.
But you know,
It's not
that's
that bad.
just me.
I feel like Mars is much worse than Earth.
Yeah,
For now.
So-
We'll see.
For now.
I know. Actually,
we don't know what's out there. Who's saying there could be Earth 2.0 waiting for us? We just have to go find it.
Yeah, but Earth's gonna reset anyway. It always does. It's always trying to kill us, so it's gonna reset.
So isn't that a reason why to leave?
Yeah.
But Mars is gonna kill you even more. There's no water
Well,
there.
maybe not Mars, but
Yeah, I was joking about abandoning Earth.
no, it is
Earth
actually
is pretty nice.
I feel like that is an argument that gets thrown around, though, that eventually humanity should move to other planets and, you know, stop trying to. Well, I guess that's kind of what you were saying. Like, that should be the end goal of humanity, is moving to other planets.
It's also like, if it's not us, maybe there's aliens that'll do it to us. So maybe we should do it first.
That being said, should we talk about our next, the Avatar scenario? If there's aliens out there and we can reach those aliens.
We gotta talk about the point of colonizing Mars specifically, because like Hussein was talking about, you would die there in a couple minutes if you went there, so not exactly the nicest place to live. So why are we so set on getting there? So yeah, what's the point of colonizing Mars if we can't live there comfortably?
I feel like colonizing Mars is a very long-term type of thing, and that's gonna take like a lot of years for actual people to start living there. I don't know. I'm not too sure about how you can change a planetary environment or like the atmosphere, but I assume it's by sending like robots in there to do little things that's gonna like help make it a livable condition, and then you send people. So it's like
it's a long process.
Yeah, it's like I don't know what the timeline is, but it seems kind of unrealistic for now.
Yeah, so terraforming is definitely a long-term process, but the way scientists or just sci-fi enthusiasts have speculated that we could do it is with giant orbital mirrors, like increasing the temperature of the surface by reflecting sunlight on it, nuclear bombardment to like increase the CO2 and melt the polar ice caps to create oceans.
Global warming, like just
Right. We're so good at global warming, we can just do that same thing on Mars.
Yeah.
Maybe, man.
Also, asteroid bombardment. We can just.
So you
direct
basically want to
asteroids into
destroy Mars before we make it
Exactly.
livable. That's a great idea.
And we could even like create. So it'd be pretty necessary is creating a magnetic field for Mars to protect the ozone layer and defend against radiation. So we might have to have like giant orbital magnets.
Why can't we do none of that here then?
We already have those things. The issue is keeping them alive, honestly.
Yeah.
It's always easier to destroy things.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
The other thing is Mars is freaking far away.
Yeah.
It's 233.08 million miles away. 7 to 9 month travel time with current technology. How long do you think it would take to drive?
Drive to Mars?
Drive to Mars, a Mars road trip.
I'm guessing 3,000 years.
3,000 years?
More.
Let's overestimate.
Yeah.
Let's do the math. 60 miles an hour. How many miles is that?
233
I can't do the
million.
math.
It would take 400 years.
Oh God.
So yeah, 90,000 times longer than the distance from LA to DC.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest reasons why people haven't explored the space thing. It's just the time. It's
I also feel like whenever you guys talking about the space station on the moon,
yeah.
I don't know how helpful that would be because you're only going what 200? Is it what's the distance to the moon? 200,000?
It's not that far. It's not that far.
And then you have to go an additional like 200 million.
yeah.
Well, if
So
you
it's
think
not really
about
this.
the most of the fuel that we
Okay.
use to get rockets off of Earth is just escaping the gravity well. So if you have a space station that you could refuel ships on the moon, you don't need to have as much fuel to escape that gravitational field.
That's fair, yeah.
But yeah, there could be definitely advances in propulsion technology.
No, I think yeah, definitely we can shorten the 7. I mean, just imagine it if it's like somehow we get to it towards like at least a month journey. I think that's more reasonable, doable. I think
It's not bad.
going to Mars
I
in
could
just a
live in
month.
spaceship for a month.
Yeah, it could be like a cool journey at that point.
We're talking
Although
so
that's
far in the
probably
future.
not going to happen in the next couple of decades. It's
Yeah.
probably going to be like 5 months,
5 months.
journey, which is still doable.
Yeah.
It's not too bad.
Also, the transfer window of when the Mars is at its closest point to Earth happens every 26 months. So that makes it even harder to resupply because you have these narrow windows.
Mm.
The average temperature is negative 81 degrees Fahrenheit, and it can get down to negative 225.
So, I mean,
So-
it makes it impossible to be.
That's a little chilly, I'd say.
Yeah, a little. We can't even do what is it? 55s, 45s here on Earth. We're struggling with that.
Oh my
Negative
God, that's a
200?
Texas take right there.
That's
That is
Texas
a
take?
Texas
Yeah.
take. Yeah.
Texas, man.
Also, there's no atmosphere to protect from radiation and no magnetic field to protect from radiation. And the gravity is 1/3 times Earth. So
I can fly
that
that.
can have lots of negative health impacts. With the, on the other hand, you can fly there. So it
Hey,
might
maybe
be
that's
worth it.
that's worth it then. I almost died, but I can fly.
So does this make y'all like change your mind about whether we should go to Mars or not?
I think it makes it even worse. I don't feel like going now or wanting to go.
But Mars is 1/3
Earth's
Gravity,
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of complications that I don't think we're taking into consideration. I feel
Mm.
like our body, like we're talking about settlements, but our body, like our biological body, is meant for Earth's gravity. Like we've adapted and evolved to survive, like in Earth's conditions. And going somewhere else, there's definitely going to be some sort of complications that we just don't have the technology to.
Yeah, I mean, we already see severe like weight loss and malnutrition from people who go to the moon and come back. So like, imagine Mars. It'll be
Well,
insane.
mainly from people on the space station.
Yeah,
Not
exactly.
many people don't
Well,
stay on
yeah, I
Mars.
don't mean the
or-
moon. I mean the space station.
People don't stay on the moon long term.
But in general, just going to space and coming back, you know, it's a huge thing. And you also got to think about time. How like we've seen in movies like Interstellar, like how time works differently. Like maybe that's,
not
also
going to be as much of an issue.
You don't
on
think
Mars.
so?
No, no.
that's
Mars.
only near a black hole.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like if you travel fast, if you the faster you travel, the slower time goes. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
it
that's-
is.
Well, yeah, but that's for.
I know it's just the
Yeah.
concept.
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
I think the biggest thing we have to think about is time lag. Like for these astronauts, they're going to lose like years of life back on Earth just from trying to travel these places. So
right.
I don't think that's much of a concern.
as much, but if you think about like more permanent settlements, I mean, I don't know. You're giving up you're asking people that are going to Mars to stay there for a long time to give up like, I mean, how much time? At least like 3 years of everything here. Just you know.
I mean,
that's
but
like
it's like
a
stage
bunch
shows
of-
are
you're saying-
It's like a once in a lifetime. Not even a once in a
Yeah,
lifetime.
they might
like
not see
once in
it
a history.
as
type of
giving
thing.
up that time. It's like
They might
something
enjoy that.
they
Yeah.
want to do.
You gotta sacrifice
Yeah.
some things for.
No, you do, but that's just also.
I mean, I feel like
mine.
I wouldn't do it, or maybe we wouldn't do it, but there's definitely people who would be like, "You do it?
Yeah, hell yeah.
Just
Oh,
give
wait,
up
whoa,
everything."
whoa, whoa, you've been like anti-Mars this whole time. And now
So,
you're
Well,
here
if there's,
Mars.
I don't think it's gonna happen, but if it does happen, yeah, I'm down.
So right now they
I
give
would
an
also go to
opportunity.
Mars.
Whoa, whoa,
I would
whoa.
also
To go to Mars and like
Right now,
there's
right this
100% survival.
100% survival chance. Right now, you're leaving
Like, if,
everything. It's
yeah,
only you.
if,
No family, no friends.
Oh, if it's
nothing.
only me, then
Yeah.
I'll go with you. Then it's us two.
Oh hell no, no, never mind.
if I'm,
Oh, shit.
if I'm still single by 2035, then I'll join
Then
y'all.
maybe.
Oh my
Okay.
god. We'll have the entire Flipside crew to document our travels.
I actually think, so there isn't that many incentives for the first colonists to
Yeah.
go there besides like fame and the adventure aspect of it, but it's definitely making lots of sacrifices.
See, I think the only reason why I would go is if life just gets very horrible and there's like just wars everywhere.
It cannot be worse than on Mars, though, can it?
It cannot,
I don't-
but if it means that I have a chance of dying here, at least I'll die in space then.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
with the how wars are going here, like imagine we get to a nuclear point.
Well, actually, I don't think I would go to Mars. I feel like it's just me. Like, I would like want to just go to space, experience it.
okay.
and then Mars is the same thing as Earth. So.
Maybe just this
Or worse.
space.
Yeah, except for the atmosphere and the
Except for
water.
the atmosphere
yeah.
and then the no water, no oxygen,
Yeah.
that type of thing.
I do think it's important to talk about some ways we can mitigate these issues, though, like where we can just live inside domes or underground. Well, I mean, we'll have to do one of the two because we can't breathe the atmosphere. So, but we could create like these nice greenhouses and domes and use the like 3D print with the Mars regolith to block from radiation or live underground. For gravity, there's a big difference between 0G, which is what people experience on the International Space Station,
Right.
versus 1/3 gravity. Like at least things are still functioning slightly as they're supposed to instead of being all discombobulated. So we don't actually know how bad the impacts of 0G will be and how well people will be able to adapt to that long term. People's neurological systems are
I mean,
very adaptable, as we've seen.
But in general, though, we've created a gravity that mimics Earth on space stations and stuff, right? So maybe we could do that on.
Well, through spinning, but we can't
Right.
do that on Mars, obviously.
So this is important. We didn't mention, if you aren't aware of this, for orbital stations, you can create artificial gravity
right.
with centrifugal force, centripetal force. I don't know. I forget physics. But
Or like inertia.
we could also do that on Mars. You can create like a bowl-shaped spinning thing so that the vectors of the centripetal force and Mars gravity combine to create Earth gravity. But
So it's possible.
Yeah,
right?
it's
Yeah.
gonna
It is
be
possible.
it's gonna be strange though, because you're gonna feel yourself being gravity in one direction and gravity in another direction.
I think there's ways. No, it would be combining to be like one direction.
I mean,
I think that's
not
definitely
only
possible.
you do that through spinning, right?
Yeah.
Gravity is one way. So how do you think about it logically? How do you have it where gravity aligns the entire time?
Well, you can't really feel two forces at once. That you just feel one net force. So it might not be pointing directly towards the center of Mars, but it'll still add up.
I don't know. I mean, I see, I get your point, but things do add up in what is it? Like the vectors, like you were saying?
Yeah.
Like I can imagine it's a very weird experience if you feel two things pulling at you at the same time. I'm just saying.
Yeah, we don't know.
Honestly, I don't think we know
our
enough
inner
about
ear
this, to be
would-
honest. I think people
Well,
definitely
how about you go to Mars and we try it out?
Hey, honestly, send me right now. Honestly, we'll figure it out.
Okay.
Test subject, huh? But
And so people could like exercise in those spinning habitats on Mars, just to keep their body used to the Earth gravity. That's what they do on the space station right now, is constant cardio and exercise to keep their muscles strong. And maybe people just won't be able to return to Earth from Mars if they stay on there for a couple of years.
I guess that makes sense, yeah.
Without doing like super intensive training before then, but it's not necessarily the end of the world.
Yeah, I think it's fine. I think when we figure stuff out, honestly. There's definitely, with the way technology is going, I think we can figure stuff out. But it's still in the distant future. It's not right now. It's like 40, 60 years. So
Okay, so we have, this is the main argument that lots of people make for going to Mars, even if it's not, there's actually not really any economic incentive. Mars doesn't have many valuable minerals or anything, and colonists would probably be miserable there for the first couple years. So what is the main point of going there? Lots of people would say it's because we need to preserve the safety of the human race. Who knows what could happen in the next centuries, nuclear war, genetic technology taking over, a super plague, some asteroid impact, all these things. Basically, I see it as, it seems like we're constantly teetering on the edge of catastrophe. And for all we know, we could be the only intelligent life in the universe. So on one path, there's a global catastrophe and we're set back centuries. Progress comes to a grinding halt and eventually we go extinct. And that's it for the human race. On the other path, we establish self-sufficient colonies on these other orbital bodies, take hold throughout the whole solar system, and we eventually branch out to the rest of the galaxy and have countless diverse populations that are flourishing for the end of time. So seems like we should do everything in our power to mitigate the risk of going down the first path and start as soon as possible, regardless of climate change, regardless of economic inequality, start as soon as possible investing into establishing these contingency plans.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely do agree with that. I think that's one of the biggest reasons why we're doing explorations. As you can see right now with the, how heated wars are and how, like you said, meteors, who knows what could happen. Like the next second we could all just get hit by a meteor and go extinct like the dinosaurs. But I think that's one of the biggest reasons. I'm definitely I agree with that point. Like we should definitely explore other planets and, try to preserve the human race.
Does anyone have a rebuttal to that argument?
I would argue that that would imply that these settlements are self-sufficient, which they're probably not going to be for the foreseeable future. So doing this with the intention of making it a backup plan for humanity isn't the most realistic goal as of now, because even if something were to happen on Earth, I mean, these colonies would run out of food, run out of fuel. They're not able to manufacture things by themselves, at least for now.
Yeah,
with the technology we have. So I mean, is it a good motivating factor for the future? Yeah, but is it realistic for the present term? That's another question.
Well, I guess it's just, this is the window of opportunity that we have right now, so we should take advantage of it and hope that they become self-sufficient in time.
Okay, that we can get behind.
Anything else to add to that? We good?
I mean, there's the other side of if we're meant to die or we're meant to go extinct, then I think we're meant to go extinct. I feel like it's almost kind of
fate.
Yeah, it's fate, or I don't know. I feel like I think that's
so.
Just
all we have is Earth, and we shouldn't try to mitigate the risk of this. We should just, if we can't make Earth work, then
we just die.
Yeah.
But what is it I don't think there is a grave danger to our species as of right now.
I think it'd be really hard to completely wipe out humanity. But
I feel like most of the things that is in threat of us going extinct is ourselves, and that's something that we have control over.
I mean, if we think about let's just say COVID, right? Imagine a more deadly version of it. It's possible, right?
Yeah, but we have the technology to battle it. It's not like there's gonna be something.
I mean, it just happened, and we still got I don't know what, hundreds and thousands of people dying. Just imagine that at a large scale where millions and millions die. It's definitely a problem, right?
I feel like we have
the internet goes down. We forget. Nobody knows these days how to build nuclear reactors, or
right.
What if we just become cavemen for a few centuries and then eventually go extinct? I guess that's how it would happen.
Yeah. It would be where we built things in a way that if you take away one of the
one key
ingredient, then everything just
unravels everything. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah.
All right, you want to lead us to the next topic, Julian?
All right. Well, what I was trying to say earlier is, so say we are on the brink of collapse, and humanity has the technology now where we can travel to another solar system, and we find a planet that's perfect for habitation. Okay. Do we have the right, if that planet already has life or potentially other intelligent species, to try to preserve the human species on that planet, to take over, to colonize that planet?
I mean, the British really didn't think anything about that. I guess we go the British way.
People don't think the British made the right decisions, I think so.
I do agree with that. I think it's more towards the way they did it rather than them doing it. If we, like, for example, even in the movie, the people in the avatars, I guess, in the planet were not completely against them. They were only against them when they started like destroying the planet,
Yeah.
removing the resources and stuff. If we, you know, are like a more peaceful settlement, like try to become like them kind of with avatars and
But
stuff.
also, there could be potentially infinite of these worlds once we find one. So we
We
just
go to
find
everyone?
more.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely, but
you have to think of the fact that human presence alone is going to lead to like environmental degradation.
Right.
So whatever planet that we find that's like a perfect paradise, we're going to end up like messing up
Messing it
eventually.
up.
Yeah.
It depends on if
100%.
there's intelligent life or not. If there is intelligent life, we should be.
so if it's not intelligent, you should just kill
You're
them
just
all,
like,
get rid
Well,
of them.
if it's just a bunch of cool vegetation, then
Right.
like I mean, we can land there and start setting up our colonies.
Yeah,
But we should
100%.
like take care. Like if we find life on Jupiter's moon, Europa, in the subsurface ocean or something, then like obviously we should pause progress there until we do some analysis of it and study it. But at a certain point, I mean, we're not just gonna abandon Europa because there's some bacteria on it. Like
Yeah, and also it goes to say that, like, do we have the right to do it? It's also the problem where what if we don't do it and then someone else does it to us? You know,
that is
Yeah.
a question.
I think it's better if we at least start
we gotta
doing
strike
it.
first.
Strike first, honestly. Like, what if like aliens come to us and then they start destroying us? At least, you know, we were the ones to first do it, even though, you know.
Yeah, have you guys played Halo? That's
Hopefully the
exactly
other
what happens.
aliens don't think like we do.
Like we do. I mean, the thing is, like, people hate being selfish, but when it comes to survival, people do turn selfish. Like, you have to do it. As much as we say that we're all good and not evil and all that stuff, when it comes to just surviving and making sure that our, you know, population survives, our family, friends, generations, I think we wouldn't care at that point. I think it's fine. Like,
Yeah, I think the thing with the Europa thing, when it comes to it,
yeah,
there's morality kind of comes out of the question. I feel like that's just human nature of us, or
Mhm.
at least our government's nature of kind of being selfish in that they're going to take resources. It's not like we've been good to this earth. We've never, I don't think we've ever treated this earth with the respect it deserves. So it's not like we're going to go to other planets and treat it with respect whenever we don't treat ourselves with respect.
oh no, 100%. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the main hope there would be it's a small enough population, and there's a culture of coexistence with the planet, better social cohesion like we would have here.
Maybe by then we'll have figured out how to live in
Communicate.
harmony with the environment.
Yeah, hopefully. And even if it's not possible to implement that here, if it's a new beginning, then
Start
I think
over.
the hope is that we can start over. So
Yeah.
like,
What about
it's
like
a hope, though.
communication and stuff? That's I think that's the hardest part. Like, if we do
Communication.
find other living species, there's like it's gonna be so hard to
We'll
communicate.
have
Oh, that's if we
alien
find a
episode
species.
where
I
we
meant just
can
in
talk
general.
about
Oh, just in
that.
general, right.
There's also that space junk problem. There's 133 million objects in orbiting Earth between
Oh,
1 millimeter to
yeah.
1 centimeter, and there's 11. I gave it away. I was surprised that there are this many satellites. There's 11,300 satellites orbiting right now.
That's actually
Earth.
crazy.
Yeah,
Like satellites, you mean like, you don't mean like we've made the satellites.
no
like
artificial satellites.
Like we made satellites and
Yeah.
they're orbiting, not like
Yeah.
this.
What else would it be?
Well,
Aliens making
I think the
satellites?
definition of a satellite isn't man-made.
That's true. Yeah, but this is
Artificial
man-made.
satellites. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, artificial satellites. That means yeah.
11,000
Or
is
a,
crazy. I didn't
a
expect
satellite
it
is
to be
anything that
much.
orbits Earth, I think.
It's
Okay.
anything that orbits a larger body.
Yeah.
Okay,
So you're right. But
So the moon is a satellite.
yeah, it is.
Yeah, I think SpaceX for their Starlink system plans to have like eventually 50,000 or
Sheesh.
I don't know. I have the exact number somewhere, but I can't find it. But around that number of total satellites. So
Well, to be honest,
is
what's
this-
the actual probability we're gonna get hit by them? Like if you
well, not us, but it could cause a chain reaction where since there's no air resistance, it like two satellites hit each other, they break into pieces, and then that they all the satellites start breaking and scattering into millions of pieces that break all the rest of the satellites.
So imagine
And the space station.
But I feel
Yeah,
like
there's
11.
like a-
What was the number? 11,000
11,000,
satellites.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel like that's a small number for the actual amount of space
Yeah.
that's
Oh, yeah.
orbiting.
That's true, but you have to
It's
keep
not
in
that
mind
much.
that whenever big things break into smaller pieces, they end up moving faster. So I think there's a theory that eventually Earth is we're gonna send so many things up, and every time, this is another thing with us sending more rockets into space, is every time we send something up, there's always like junk and pieces that get left behind that stay in orbit. So eventually, if we do that enough times, and if things break enough
That's like
too
gonna
many
take a long
times,
time though.
it depends, because like he said, things that are already up there can break apart if they get hit by stuff. But we're gonna create like a prison around the Earth because it's gonna be like impenetrable. Yeah, that was a dystopian.
That does
theory.
make sense. Yeah.
I mean, there's obviously ways that we can try to
Avoid
You know,
that,
like,
yeah.
the whole ocean cleanup. If we have
Yeah.
some sort of laser net that like disintegrates things that go through it,
I was
saw that.
surprised. The main like solution that I found was orbital lasers to
Yeah.
push the stuff back. Also, eventually stuff a lot of times would re-enter the Earth's atmosphere and just burn up. So that'd be the hope. Or
Okay, that is true. Yeah.
although
Or they come out
a
of
lot
orbit
them
and
just
like
stay
Yeah.
up there forever, but that is how you would get rid of it, is pushing it into the atmosphere to burn up.
Okay.
or I guess from the 11,000, I'm not sure all of them are in perfect orbit, so they're not gonna stay in orbit. They're gonna either fall in or fall out.
Yes,
Or whatever it
it depends. I mean, things have to be both a certain speed and also a certain distance.
Yeah.
So if one of
well,
those
if
things
they're
changes,
the perfect speed and perfect distance, then they're gonna be in the orbit. That's the
Forever.
actual danger.
And if they,
which I don't know how
exactly.
what the number is.
The thing is, like, if they break up, one of those parameters changes, obviously. So not everything stays in orbit forever, but the stuff that remains in that orbit is going to stay.
Okay. No, 100%. Yeah.
So really quickly, corporate control versus government control. What do y'all? I'll just say what I think. The government, like, there's not much economic incentive for private companies to establish bases on Mars. So colonies would probably need to be government controlled and supported by NASA or the U.S. government. Also, you need the government to enforce property and territory claims on whatever territory we have.
Yeah, you also have to consider the fact that there are also other nations trying to do this as well. So you're probably going to have international relations out in space,
Yeah.
which would be kind of cool. But also if there is like a joint venture between multiple countries, that's going to have to happen at a higher level than just like a company. So
Yeah, I think it has to be government and private together, putting their resources, and also multiple countries working together.
Well, yeah. I mean, the only reason this is working now is that we're
Yeah.
having private companies put their resources alongside
Exactly,
the
yeah.
government, and that multiplies what we can do with a certain amount of taxpayer dollars.
Progress is definitely faster when you have private companies involved. So
Yeah, and when you have an incentive that people try
Yeah.
to chase as well. So right now we do have that incentive, but the
Yeah.
question is, for Mars, will we still?
Hopefully, I mean, this could also give us a huge opportunity to work together to do stuff. Multiple countries establish, the new relations maybe.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that, because right now there's is this turning into a new space race with Russia and India trying to outcompete the US
It's
with moon
possible.
landings?
I think it's possible. Yeah, 100% with the way it's going. Yeah, but I think we're
And-
gonna have to end up working together.
Yeah, I mean, we already do work with people.
Right.
Like we're working
I
with
actually
the
think it's going to
space
keep
station.
diverging.
Oh.
The countries, like, now the space race is going to be less about just getting places and more about claiming territory on the moon. And
You think it's
Yeah.
gonna be worse?
but
Probably.
there's also lots
It's going to
of
be
space
different. There's also going
up
to be
there,
the weaponization of space.
That's also
Think about it.
Space
Yeah.
Force.
Space Force, yeah, listen list. But no, that's going to be really curious whenever we start seeing things like defense systems out in space that can send a nuke in 2 seconds to whatever country you want it to. So
That's true.
it'll be.
I guess we just have to
interesting.
be optimistic. We don't F it up or something,
Yeah, definitely optimism is probably gonna be a key here.
Yeah,
because it's gonna be pretty easy to take a pessimistic
Viewpoint
view on this. Yeah.
Does everyone feel like they're done with that part?
Yeah,
Move on
let's
to
move
the
on.
last
Let's move on.
segment.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's spend maybe 15 minutes kind of rapid fire. What is the future of humanity going to be like, going potentially super long term? we can kind of go in order with the bullets that we have.
I think we should just talk about it like as we're gonna talk about it though.
Should we? I was thinking
Do you
maybe
even have
somebody
one?
can like make a claim about what they think it's going to be like, and we can talk about that. Or...
Do you even have? it on
Yeah,
the
sure.
doc?
Let's do that.
Sure.
Yeah, because I think it'll be more natural than if we just read
Okay,
off
yeah.
what you have. Besides, I don't
All
know if we
these
could talk
bullets.
like long about these things anyway individually.
Okay, so where do you think we're going to live in the... I'll make my claim. I think that Mars is kind of far-fetched since there's not much of a point of going there. I think mainly there's going to be lots of development on the moon for mining resources, asteroid mining probably for sure, since there's so much economic incentive. And that comes with the development of the whole entire cislunar space with orbital stations for tourism, but also whole like logistics companies of shipping between Mars and the Earth, and transporting people. Like there's this whole, I feel like, economic revolution coming in cislunar space. So that's what I think.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think moon is probably the closest we're gonna get to establishing settlements and developing economic, progress. But like you said, transportation is probably the biggest. Like, if we can bring, I think it's just super easy compared to like Mars and other planets, since the moon
'Cause
is
it's so
quite close. Yeah, it's probably easier for us to first of all get resources from the Earth to the moon. I think that's
Yeah.
the biggest.
It's a 3-day travel time
that's
to the
pretty
moon.
good.
Yeah, and also communication delay is like 3 seconds compared to
Right.
5 to 20 minutes on Mars.
Exactly. Like, I think, like I said, yeah, that's definitely the biggest thing. Like the communication delays, like people getting across to each other. Like it's just so easy on the moon that it's probably the biggest or the closest thing we're gonna get to, settlements that are self-sustaining, maybe.
But I mean, also like, I don't think we're ever gonna go out of our solar system. I don't know what. Does
Hmm.
anybody know how far our solar system, the next solar system, is in light
No
years?
idea, to be
I
honest.
do.
Carson
I
has
knew-
all the
I
facts.
knew Carson.
I've got all the facts. It's 4 light years.
4 light years away. And what's the
It's
highest speed?
light
that
years. We
humans
can't
can
even
go?
travel like 1% the speed of light.
So it's not gonna happen.
It's impossible.
And you
Uh,
can't. I don't think you can physically go faster than light.
The number is 6,300 years with current technology. But we don't know in the next 200 years. That's a long time. We
I don't know,
how
man.
Technology, propulsion technology.
I mean,
will
how
increase.
close can you get to the speed of light? I don't think you can physics wise.
It'll take it.
Yeah, you can't get faster than it because speed or light is massless.
We
and you
don't
can't.
know. You could
I think
go-
they.
Wormholes,
warp drive.
But you know, one way I've thought about how
Haven't
to
you
actually.
watched Star Trek and Star Wars? Like, if they thought we could do it, then
Boring.
The Hawking drive, the
Boring.
Expanse, or Epstein drive. Sorry.
What were you gonna say?
But I do think one way, like we can't get as fast as the speed of light, but one way, I know this is a crazy idea, but one way you could go much faster is if in some way all our planets align in a certain way where you shoot an object through it and it catches on the orbit and it keeps going faster and faster. And
Well,
faster.
yeah, it's
Hmm.
like that.
That's how they
gravity
do it.
exists. Or gravity assist already exists.
yeah,
they've
even with
done
that, it's not.
Yeah.
It's gonna
Good
be a
enough.
long journey. But
Yeah. Yeah.
what do y'all think? There's this concept of generation ships where it's a giant spaceship that's self-sustaining with like obviously gardens for
Like-
food protection,
like
maybe
passengers.
lab
WALL-E?
grown meat.
Oh,
spin,
WALL-E,
yeah, no,
yes.
exactly.
Or
Wally.
passengers.
Yeah.
Actually,
spin-
Wally is based off that idea.
spin gravity, and
So
basically
that idea is based off Wally.
even if it
Whoa.
takes no matter how long, really, you can have a fully sustained colony living on the ship as they journey and have children, and then their ancestors would be the one to make it to the
Oh, there's another movie like that.
Passengers. That's what I said. Yeah, and also
With
even
Chris
in the
Pratt.
100 that we could. They have a space thing up top, and then
I've never watched.
Wait,
that
and which one?
the 100 TV show.
Oh, actually, I
Yeah.
heard that was good.
It's a good
The-
show.
The
It gets-
Expanse, Carson?
It gets
yeah.
bad, but
The Nauvoo?
I haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah, you know the Nauvoo.
No, I haven't.
Yeah, the Mormon one.
what are we talking
Oh,
about?
the
here?
Ark ship. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's-
there's
Okay, yeah.
yeah, in that show there's like
I feel like that
Religious
ship that
movement.
we're talking about is way more realistic than.
I think that is quite realistic. Yeah.
with the
Also, we
Expanse,
could
yeah, I feel
like
it's
in
the most
Passenger
realistic.
put ourselves in hibernation and wake up
if
in
we
a
can figure
1,000
that out.
years.
But what do you want to put yourself in hibernation? Though you put everything you know behind.
No, but the thing is, if we like, what's
There'd be a big
the
risk.
what is the freezing thing? What's that called? Where you freeze yourself or something?
Yeah,
Like
If you think
cryo,
Captain
cryo, yeah, like
Cryo
if
sleep.
that's possible, I think a lot of this stuff will be quite doable.
and you have to think we have like infinite time scales. We're kind of been thinking the next 200 years, but eventually, like over thousands of years, we'll probably get there, right?
yeah, no,
somehow.
definitely. If our if the human race sustains that long, it's just the sad
that's
thing is
true.
it's just not
That's
gonna
why
be
we got to
us.
go to Mars.
Or,
right
Yeah, you
now.
know,
lifetime.
it's really sad because I saw something that was like, we're too late to explore the Earth and too
Yeah.
early to explore space, but
Like-
now we're like born just in time to live through global warming.
Yeah,
so.
we're in the generation where
It's kind of sad.
people before us have already done everything, and people after us will probably do the most stuff. We're basically just
But think about it, it's
middle.
us that's gonna like determine whether we go forward with that or not. So
yeah, 100%. No, that's true. But it also goes to say, like, let's say we do get a chance to go. But by the time we're gonna be like 80 or like something,
Oh my
if
God.
anything happens,
well,
would we
if
want to even
we
go?
develop a live forever potion? Then
Yeah,
Maybe
exactly.
then. Maybe
I think
then.
that's pretty plausible. Life extension,
Life
of
extension.
some sort.
By the time we're old, maybe.
Yeah.
But will it let us? I don't know. At the same time, putting our hands in like the older generation that's been prolonged with life isn't really as good an idea as sending the the young people to go. So
See, I would definitely do it if in the spaceship we would get to have our TV shows or our friends'
And
families.
VR, like
and-
we're all gonna be living in VR in the next 10 years.
please tell me
so
that's not the case. That'd be awful.
What's the difference if you're living underground or? That's the other thing we can talk about. Like, we probably can't terraform these planets for the next couple centuries. So, do you think it's like anti-human to leave Earth? And also, like, what do you think about the psychological impacts of living indoors all for the rest of your life? Never seeing the ocean, breathing recycled air constantly.
It sucks.
Yeah,
It does
that
suck,
would
yeah.
suck. Yeah,
Yeah. It's also we just don't know the effects of that yet. Like,
that's a big issue.
I mean, I spend 99% of my time indoors, and I'm fine.
That's true.
I don't know if that's a good thing, Carson.
Yeah, that's a Carson.
You were
thing.
talking about if by 2035 I don't have a girlfriend, I'll go to Mars with you. I don't think it's improving right now.
You think I should go outside more too?
Yes.
Maybe
Yeah.
both of us should,
Just a
honestly.
little bit.
I think, like I said, we have VR. Like, you'd still be able to get the internet on Mars, and we could create like some nice gardens and parks that are underground or domed, where you can like explore the Martian mountains and ravines that are like twice as tall as on Earth. Like
Yeah, was it?
nuclear powered rovers and spacesuits.
What was that name of that mountain? That was like Mount Olympus or something.
Yeah, I think so.
Or like the tallest mountain in the
Yeah.
universe. It's on.
No,
Where
there
is
was
it
this
on?
one on
It's on Jupiter's
Mars.
moon. or something.
Olympus Mons, or it's like a
It's like on-
giant shield volcano. It's 2.5 times the height of Mount Everest above sea level.
Jeez.
So it is.
Somebody's gonna find a way to climb that.
I would find that. That sounds awesome. No, dude, that would be my life's journey.
There's like things to do.
Yeah, yeah.
So also, I was gonna say this for where we live. Have y'all heard of O'Neill cylinders?
No idea what that is.
So there's this idea that, and lots of people think this is more plausible than living on planets, is that most of our population will be scattered in these orbital stations with spin gravity, but they don't have to be in any orbit actually, just scattered throughout the solar system. They can move wherever they want to, and it's like a giant cylinder with a 5-mile radius about. And we could create whole ecologies like we saw in Interstellar, basically.
Right.
It could be just like Earth. We could create all the conditions, and we can customize the weather and lighting however we want, potentially.
So it's basically living in a spaceship.
But it would be like living on Earth, but in a spaceship.
Okay, that's complicating
That sounds
it a lot.
scary.
Like
though.
creating,
It's
it's
like-
pretty much like another planet, but like adapting
Yeah.
to like the.
I
We're
man-made
creating a whole artificial planet.
basically.
Yeah.
But imagine you have like several 100,000,000 like pounds of stone under you to going with like a
Right.
metal wall. I
Right.
don't know. That's
Yeah,
that's scary.
I think that's a little far fetched. I think spaceships are definitely more realistic and doable.
I mean, it is a spaceship. That's just a permanent colony. So
Yes, I guess that is true. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like it's very
And it'd be more
complicated.
Earth-like because it'd be so big.
I guess it's doable. I just think it's very complicated. But I mean,
it's definitely like a mega project but
Yeah.
possible. Population, I thought this was cool. So in Ukanimopolis,
what the hell is it even saying, bro?
I think I butchered that.
Dude,
It's a planet-spanning city.
you
And
triggered everybody
at the
there, bro.
population density of New York, Earth could potentially support 546 billion people.
Earth could support?
Yeah, that's not.
think of Coruscant.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. He hasn't seen Star Wars somehow.
Oh,
It's
Wait, is a planet?
It's
whoa,
Series.
whoa! We don't
see
say
how
that.
many people I
Yeah,
trigger
it's
from
a
that.
planet-spanning city. So the entire surface is covered with a giant. Think of a city the density of New York, and also in Coruscant they have like multiple tiers. Also, the sun provides enough energy for 10 billion Earths. So think about 8 billion people per Earth. That's 80 million
insane, bro.
trillion humans.
It's insane. So you're saying
These are the possibilities that we could have. And think about all the lives that we'd be saving if we invest in space colonization right now so we can get to that point.
I mean, yeah, 100%.
So yeah, you all
Alright.
think that's cool or
I think it's pretty cool. Do you change your
Yeah.
mind, Hussein?
Definitely, yeah. I love s'mores in space.
S'mores. I also love s'mores.
Doesn't seem that enthusiastic about it yet.
Oh, I definitely am.
One more thing to touch on, the communication and travel lag. So this is more near term. If we have habitats all throughout the solar system, it's
But Starlink's gonna be following us everywhere we go, maybe.
up to a couple hours for light to travel to Neptune, like 4 hours. So, and also travel time could be months to the outer planets, even after hundreds of years. So, no more globalization. Like we'd have basically a bunch of isolated communities that, like we had before the last 20 years,
Right, yeah.
like messaging by horseback and stuff. I don't think that's a bad thing at all. Actually, I think it's good to have
So we're
a
going
bit
back.
more
to the basics.
isolation and
Yeah.
in between cultures and give people some breathing room instead of like the monoculture that we have right now.
I mean, definitely, it's like resetting, right? We're going back, resetting,
Yes,
starting
very reset.
over. So
Well, I think about it, you have different planetary cultures at that point.
could be good. Could be good.
Yeah.
Who knows?
And a whole different types of governments potentially.
No, 100%. I mean,
See
Societal
whichever one
research
is
would be very
thriving the
interesting.
most.
yeah.
These O'Neill cylinders would be like micro governments with like a couple million people. It could be interesting how they set up their systems and isolated from any other government potentially.
Yeah.
So cool stuff,
It is cool stuff.
I think. Also, just a nerd.
I mean, we can see by the notes that you take and stuff, you
I
are
told
kind of a
you this was
nerd.
my Roman Empire right at the beginning.
I mean, but is that it? Is that all we have for?
Yeah, does anyone have any other prediction that they're dying to get out, or are we?
No, I think that's
I
about
don't have
it.
a prediction, but I have a minor disclaimer for this show.
But
Okay, so Carson's under the impression that's pronounced NASA instead of NASA, but I
I
obviously
think it's
You're
NASA.
100%.
Nobody's
wrong
saying
about
NASA.
that.
Yeah, it's NASA.
I've never heard someone say
That's how it
NASA
should
in
be
my
pronounced.
NASA is insane.
And you
Yeah.
also
What?
say
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
NASA is how you
here's
say
the
it.
kicker. This will destroy all his credibility. He also pronounces Uber. Okay.
What? That's not
I think
even
that's
that-
all you need to know.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Okay.
One
Well,
of these days,
we're
Carson.
just discrediting Julian here, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. I just lost my credibility for the podcast.
Maybe
Alright.
we kick him off then, huh?
Yeah, we'll
Just because
see.
of this.
Just for
Just because-
pronunciation issues.
Might have to,
All
honestly.
right. Well, that being the case, so I mean, thank you everyone for listening to the podcast, and we'll catch you on the flip side. Shh.
Comment your thoughts so we know that you're listening and we can continue the conversation
Yeah.
down there.
Let us know what you want to change. Like, comment,
Whether we
subscribe.
should kick out Pre, yeah,
Maybe kick me out, honestly.
Why pre?
for making fun of me.
But yeah, Instagram, TikTok, maybe at some point. Everything's linked. Hit us a like, comment, subscribe. Thank you guys for watching.
See ya.